And that's what's happening is God is sculpting, God the Holy Spirit is literally sculpting agape. Agape only means divine love in the Bible. It's mistranslated as love, and that's really pathetic. In the Greek, it only means divine love. Greek has different words for other kinds of love. Divine love is agape, and the verb is agapao. And whenever you see love in the New Testament, it's talking about agape, or 99.9% of the time is the Greek word agape. So just think, okay, that means divine love, not human. God has to sculpt his own love into you. That's Romans 5:5. That is one of the verses that characterizes this stage here where it says personal love for God the Father. So that's what's happening in spiritual adulthood, is that the love for God is being sculpted. You know, children don't really love. We call it love, but they really don't know how, because they're not really persons on their own. They have to develop enough as persons before they're really capable of love. All right? It's a kind of trust, and you know how fragile it is with a kid. And the adolescence, too. It's very fragile. In spiritual adulthood, it starts to become a true independent love, and that is also true in the spiritual life. So here, plaso starts to become the header verb, and it's sculpting love, personal love for Father. Now, it's for Father because, again, you're simultaneously breaking away. This is all happening in the mind. You're breaking away from your attachments to the world and becoming really bonded to God. And the first God you get bonded to is Father, because that's Son's desire. Okay, we're eventually going to be priests under Christ to Father forever. So your orientation, your love orientation, is to Father. Just like you pray only to Father, you don't pray to anybody else, or your prayer will not get heard. So also when you look, you're looking at Father. It doesn't mean you don't think toward Christ or think toward the Holy Spirit. And of course, the Holy Spirit will let you know when an idea or a thought or a meaning is coming from Christ or himself. But generally speaking, it's Father. And so your orientation is to Father. And that's the replacing occupation that's developing in you in spiritual adulthood. Now, personal sense of destiny, personal love for Father. Then the third thing is impersonal love for all mankind. The best word for that would be honor. Instead of calling it impersonal love, I like to call it what was the term? Integrity love. That's something my pastor uses also. Independent love. That's what I want to call it. It's an independent love, which means that it's independent of the attractiveness of the object. Okay? You stop being so easily upset with people who used to upset you. You start to hold a higher honor concept in your mind. Love does not mean that it feels good. Love means that you want to benefit the object. Love means that you want to serve the object. Love means that you want to honor the object. And in impersonal love, which is an outflow from personal love for Father, it's a way to try to express your personal love for Father. You want to honor everything in your life that you have to deal with. And yet, at the same time, you're more distant from those very things. Honor requires a certain distance. And that's why I call it independent love. It's independent of the characteristics in the object. The object does not have to be nice to get honor from you. Then you've got the fourth one, which is sharing the happiness of God, and that again is my pastor's term. He likes to just call it plus age. God's happiness is a constant. He's constantly happy. It's not la la la, oh I feel so good. That's not happy. That's emotion. Happiness is a contentment, a tranquility, a stability. You don't get so ruffled. Or you get ruffled, but not anywhere near as long as you used to. Now, just as the 5 verbs in the top box are operating all the time on you, so also these 4 problem-solving devices in spiritual adulthood are constantly operating. And the ones prior are still operating. Again, these are aggregative. If you're in spiritual adulthood, the primary way that you're thinking is in terms of, okay, how do I relate to God? I must decrease, he must increase. And that's really your goal. Okay, so that's personal sense of destiny operating. Another characteristic of spiritual adulthood is that, you're thinking about, how do I honor Father? How do I serve Father? What does he want me to think? It's occupation with Father. And then when it comes to things in your life, it's how do you express honor? And then there's a contentment that's also growing. So all those 4 things are happening to you at once, but the prior ones, 1 John 1:9 is a habit by now. Spirit filling, that's happening to you all the time during the day. Faith rest, of course, is constantly going on because you're constantly reading and living on Bible. And living on the promises and, letting God handle what your problems are, just, dismissing it. And of course, your grace orientation, your doctoral orientation are growing. You're getting more relaxed and you're seeing the bigger picture ever more and more and more. But the primary thought pattern in your head in spiritual adulthood is he must increase, I must decrease. That's personal sense of destiny. Personal love for Father. How do I honor him? What does Father want to hear me think? What should I be hearing from him? The honor thing toward your environment and personal love, independent love, and the contentment. Those are the upfront 4 problem-solving devices, characteristics of your thinking in spiritual adulthood. Now you see the big difference? When you were a little spiritual child, you were lucky if you could learn how to use 1 John 1:9. Oh, I sinned, Dad. I don't remember what it was, though. And then you forget it. You might remember it only when you're sitting down to Bible class. So the filling of the Spirit was pretty sporadic when you were a kid. And, Dad, be still and know that I am God. I remember the promise. I can do my ABCs. That was kids. Oh, how I love Jesus. Rah, rah, rah. Okay, look at the change in spiritual adulthood. He must increase. I must decrease. What should I be thinking now, Father? What would honor you? Bringing every thought into captivity. Okay, I'm going to do the dishes now. What kind of doctrine could I be reviewing or thinking so that I can think better toward you? What about that thing I heard in Bible class? La da 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 da. What? And you're doing the dishes or, sorting newspapers or something while you're doing this. You notice how you're living in 2 worlds? Your hands are doing one thing, but your mind is straight up baby. And it's very, jagged in spiritual adulthood. That's the good news.